Greetings, peoples of the interwebs. Jake here, and a couple days ago it was announced that there's a Hellboy reboot in the works that'll probably be, or the possibility of being R-rated. I don't entirely know if that's confirmed or not, or if that's just kind of what they're shooting for. And I have a little bit of mixed feelings about that because I imagine a lot of people who loved the first two Hellboy films by Guillermo Del Toro have really wanted that third movie to just complete the trilogy and complete that story because, again, I really enjoyed the Hellboy movies. A lot of other people, enjoyed them, and so even if you didn't like them, it's gonna be weird seeing a new iteration of Hellboy with the lack of Guillermo's imagination. Because say what you want about even some of his movies, regardless of what you think about them, quality wise, the dude has such a vivid imagination and does really good with like world building and character designs and all that stuff. So I even like how he uses practical effects as well with CGI in movies like Hellboy, Pan's Labyrinth, and some of those films where it just feels alive. So that's one thing that I think, I don't know, I don't even necessarily if it'll be a detriment to the reboot, because I'm sure the reboot will be perfectly fine with the talent involved, but I don't know, it's a little bit of a shame because Guillermo and Ron Perlman, who I thought was perfect as Hellboy, they've been campaigning for a few years now to try and get the studios to give them the budget that they need, which admittedly is a little high. Reports are saying that like the budget Guillermo was wanting was around $200 million, and sure, $200 million if they did give him that budget would be spectacular. But unfortunately, Hellboy just isn't that kind of franchise. The first film I think was made on a budget of around $66 million, and the second film, Golden Army, was made around $86, I think. So both of which were under 100,000 or $100 million. And they made, they made okay money. Nothing great. Like they definitely, obviously the first one made enough money to warrant a sequel, and I don't entirely remember how well the second one did. Imagine again, it did well enough to warrant a third film, just not 200 million sequel material. Because regardless of what the franchise is, that is a lot of money. Even for some of these Marvel films that just seem to be, bulletproof critic and financial wise, that's still a lot of money. Because to break even, you have to make around like a little over 400 million, so like 420, 425, somewhere in that ballpark area. So, and again, unfortunately, Hellboy just doesn't have that mainstream appeal to where, unfortunately, it would warrant a $200 million budget. However, I do feel like they maybe, Guillermo and the studio could have reached a fair compromise, because sometimes having less budget kind of helps. I mean, look at Deadpool, for example. They kept cutting the budget for that movie. Granted, it wasn't on a very large budget to begin with, but they continuously kept cutting the budget, and Deadpool was great and made a crap ton of money. Now, again, that doesn't always mean the movie will be good or will make all of its money back, but it just goes to show that sometimes when you're kind of enclosed in a box, you have to get creative to find solutions to get around certain things that maybe was in the initial draft of the script, or, I don't know, to find a better way around the special effects or the set piece or something like that. So, I guess that's one thing that I kind of wish they had. And maybe they did try to find a good middle ground, and things just didn't work out. But, so I'm a little bummed about that. But, with the reboot, as of right now, they have Neil Marshall, who's attached to direct, which the most notable film that I can think of that he's directed was The Descent, which is a really good horror film, coming from me, not a big horror person, but that is a really good movie that I'd actually recommend people checking out. And he also has done some notable episodes in Game of Thrones, which that in of itself would have had me, because just Game of Thrones as a whole is a phenomenal show, but some of the episodes that he has directed, again, they're some of the best. So the directing, I think he'll do fine, and Mike Mignola, who's the creator and the writer of the Hellboy comics, is also involved in the movie. I don't know if he's just involved as a producer, but I want to say he's involved with the script and probably a producer as well in some form or fashion. So that actually kind of, I don't know, makes me a little bit more hopeful. I don't know how involved Mignola was with the previous two Hellboy films, but even still, I think it is always nice when the creator of these books or comics or what have you of the original source material are involved in the movies or whatever the adaptation may be. So again, with some of the talent involved, and David Harbour, who played the sheriff Hopper in Stranger Things, is going to play Hellboy, which I think is a pretty good choice. He's a really good actor, and I think he can do a pretty good job as Hellboy. It's going to be hard to fill in the shoes of Ron Perlman, but I think David Harbour's a pretty good choice. So, I'm actually not opposed to this reboot. I think seems a little soon though, just because it seemed like it was only last year that negotiations, I guess, were going up again with the possibility of Hellboy 3 and whether that was going to happen or not. Because it's kind of been in development hell for a few years. But I don't know. So it's kind of a bummer, but I guess it could be bittersweet depending on how this reboot turns out. But hopefully it turns out well, and we'll get hopefully get a full trilogy of Hellboy movies. Because if you haven't read the comics, I haven't read a whole lot myself, but from what I have read, they're pretty good. I think they're definitely worth checking out, especially if you like kind of supernatural genre related media, whether it be books, comics, movies, TV shows, whatever. But I think it's definitely worth checking out. So yeah, I'm actually kind of open to this reboot idea, and again, hopefully it works out for the best. But I guess the one thing that I'm kind of curious about though is the budget of this reboot, because I feel like if it's around like the 150 million mark, it's almost kind of like, well, why don't you just give Guillermo that extra 50 million, which granted that's still a lot of money, and 50 million. But I feel like if it's in kind of around that ballpark, then it's just, you might as well have just given Guillermo the budget that he wanted to just complete that trilogy. But at the same time, with what Guillermo was able to accomplish with the first two Hellboy films, and with both those budgets, is pretty impressive. So I think if they can deliver a good Hellboy film with around maybe 100 million tops, then I think they can pull it off. And again, keep a nice franchise going without going way too over the top with the budget. Even though, again, something like Hellboy would, story-wise, would warrant like a much larger budget. I don't know. I think it can be done to not have this. It's not necessary to have a $200 million budget. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts on that. And then also, apparently earlier today, it's reported that Donald Glover is developing an animated Deadpool TV show, kind of in the style of Archer. I don't know if that means like animation style but I'd say more than likely humor, because that fits. I think it's going to be on FXX. So that's interesting. I'm not super familiar with Donald Glover. Like, I've seen him in a few things. I like him fine. I haven't seen enough of him to really kind of gauge or to have strong feelings towards or against him. But he does seem to have a good sense of humor. He's a stand-up comedian. He's been in a lot of comedic shows. But he also seems to really like, comics and be familiar with the characters and all that stuff. So I'm really curious to see how this works out. I don't think it'll be tied in any way, shape, or form to the Deadpool movie franchise, which I think is fine. And I think probably the biggest drawback, because I'm sure the show will be fine. I feel like a Deadpool TV show, especially animated, where they can get away with a whole lot more than, a live action show that wouldn't be on like HBO or Showtime or something like that, where they can just go balls to the wall crazy. So for like an animated show, again in the style of Archer, because Archer has kind of pushed some boundaries, so I think that's actually a perfect format for a Deadpool series. and just all the things they can make fun of just in TV alone, I think would almost be worth watching the show. Um, and I'm sure Ryan Reynolds probably isn't going to be involved in the show, at least as a voice actor. He maybe best case scenario is involved as like a producer of some kind, but I still feel like that's a little unlikely. I feel like he might be a little too busy to help produce or write or anything like that. But the show can easily make fun of that too, or even in the next Deadpool film, they can make fun of the fact that there's a Deadpool movie and a Deadpool show, and kind of, in a way, make fun of each other in tandem. Which again could be really funny because that's the whole thing with Deadpool is breaking the fourth wall and being self-aware. So I think the potential is all there for an animated TV show. But again, it's all about the execution, and I don't know if this has been officially greenlit, but I imagine it will, because just look at the box office receipts of Deadpool, and it's also owned by Fox, so I imagine they're just kind of like, yeah, let's beat this along. This is going to make us a lot of money, especially with the whole golden age of comic books, or comic book media that we're living in. So I'd say it's definitely going to happen, and I think it could be really cool, and I don't think we've ever really had like a more kind of mature, adult-oriented superhero cartoon. Like, I know there was a computer-animated Spider-Man show on MTV back when the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie came out, but I don't think that lasted very long. And even still, that was more kind of PG, maybe PG-13. Like, because I remember there was like some swearing and stuff like that, but nothing like, again, too adult or anything like that. Again, nothing like an Archer or a Family Guy or shows like, or South Park, shows like animated shows like that really kind of push boundaries and again are more adult humor, more adult oriented. So I think that can actually be kind of refreshing to see, like, this adult superhero show. So yeah, I think a lot of cool things coming. Just again, all comic book superhero related in the coming future, outside of these other blockbuster movies and TV shows and all that. So I don't know, just really interesting stuff. And hopefully this amazing golden age of comic book media and Star Wars and all just kind of nerdy things continues to last for hopefully till the end of time. So that way we nerdy people can just live in this amazing golden age. But that about wraps this video up. Hopefully you all have enjoyed. And before I wrap this up, though, there's a good chance that we're working on getting a guest in for an interview or podcast on both here on the Pacey Pell channel and on my anime podcast, Shogun's Gateway to Anime. He's an artist and an author. He's written his own comic. It's called Aurora. If you all want to check it out, I can leave a description I can leave a link in the description below to his YouTube channel, social media, and his website where you can check it out. I've actually read the first volume that he has out. It's really good. So we're going to try and get him on to, again, just whether it's an interview or just, chatting and, seeing his further plans for his comic. So, be on the lookout for that, and also, be sure to check out his all of his social media, his YouTube channel, where he does a lot of really, really good art, and just really, really cool guy. So, just also keep up with social media with me on social media, Pasty Poe Productions, and hopefully, we'll have him on, I don't know, in the next month or so. But as always, like, comment, subscribe, and help us get to 200 subscribers by the end of the year. We're about, I think, like 184 last I checked. So we're not too far off. Help us out. Get to that 200 subscriber mark. And, like us on Facebook at Pacebell Productions, get news and updates and all things going on with the channel, and other things adjacent to Pacebell Productions, like some of the other podcasts and projects we got going on. Follow us on Twitter at PastyPelPro, and you can follow me at Irishman Jake, and we got some other stuff brewing. which is more reason to keep up with us on the social media and the Facebook and all that stuff to see what's going on with all of us and other podcasts and whatnot we got going on. And I'll also leave it, again, links to, the Shogun's Gateway to Anime, which is about the anime podcast, and all the other stuff for you all to check out if you want to. But that wraps up this video. Hopefully you all have enjoyed, and until next time, cheers.